Hey Mikey, do you see what I see? Flickers of light in the darks, can you hear me? It's a story we never knew, a whisper to unfold. Lay it out clean and cold. Yeah. You're tracing lines, assembling facts. Put them together like a puzzle, feel the cracks. What you laid out isn't wild at all. It's a map to a shadow where the secrets fall. Artie in the night, drawing close, it's a rhythm you feel. Can you tell me more? 8:30, it fits, doesn't it? The hours unwind, let's commit. Imagine a timeline clean and sharp, not a lost boy caught in the dark. Witnesses, whispers in the maze, mapping out a truth not lost in the haze.
Mikey, we discover the lines, body and soul in a time when shadows dance beneath the moonlight. Pieces connecting in the dead of night, bringing light to the truth that's out of sight. We break it apart, we ignite. Oh Mikey, oh let's shine through the fight, revealing the stories in black and white. Did he lurk till
locked in a cage where the truth fades away, in shadows of doubt where they make you pay. You go to prison, fight your case, stand tall on the truth in this desolate place. I didn't do this to scream to the skies, but all they hear is the echo of lies. As the parole board asks for remorse, you see, how can you apologize for something not done? Chained in a cycle that leaves you undone. You want a confession for what I didn't do? It's a trap door, baby, a noose they've drawn for you, turning truth into just a liability. Your integrity's a curse in this. In a world made of shadows, where the truth feels far away, you find yourself behind bars for a price you didn't pay. You go to prison, fight your case with every breath you take, standing on your truth in the face of all this heartbreak. Didn't do this, you shout, but they turn their heads away, ignoring echoes of your innocence. You face another day. And what does the parole board say? Drowning in that protocol. You show no remorse, you're not fitting the role at all. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. It's a trap door either way, no escape from their design. The rowboat wants confessions, not a hint, a reason, nor a sign. Not seeking justice, but looking for neat boxes checked. As they mold a simple story, leaving your truth wrecked.
Uh, there we are. Good morning. What is cracking? What's going on, everybody? How we doing on this lovely, lovely, hot ass day? Free Eddie O'Brien, of course. The politics of murder. 15-year-old wrongfully convicted. We've been going over doing deep dives on all the paperwork, going through the whole case. But I want to just check in, see how everybody is doing today. I know we're a little late. Trying to get the pool done for my daughter. School's almost over, another couple of days. But yeah, it's a beautiful day today, though, that's for sure. I like it a little cool, a little breezy. The mornings are nice. What is going on today? Today, we're going to break down another witness statement. Maybe it won't be too long of a stream, but yeah, I figured, I don't know was it Michael Belonny, or is that the name, or is it pronounced Michel? Michel, I think it was Michael, right? Well, we're gonna go over Michael. I'll call him Michael, right? Belonny's statement. But it seems like Belonny becomes one of the final known sightings of Janet Downing alive, unless we're gonna take the word of her son Paul. Not that Paul lied or anything. I don't know, but Belonny tells the police that Janet pulls up in front of her house at 71 Downing Street. Nothing strange about that. We're going to look over his statement a little bit. We're already halfway through June, so that Rule 30 is going to be very, very soon. And then there's a process after that. Once you submit the Rule 30, maybe we can discuss that a little bit. What's the process? Once Eddie submits that Rule 30, then what has to be done? Let me see if I have that wasn't it. That's the forensic evaluation. But let me put this up on the screen right now so y'all can see it. I don't want to bore you all. I'm thinking about we might go over the DNA again as well, because there's a lot of new people that really didn't have a chance to see the DNA. Yeah, let me see how this looks over on YouTube. I'll tell you what, though, learning so much about exonerations and people being exonerated, and how many people are actually, in prison, trying to get out of prison. Good morning. Good morning. Just found out my car needs a head gasket. I'm like, oh boy, So, see what that's gonna be. See what that's gonna be like. It's always something. But yeah, so we're looking over this statement. You want to call it. This seems to be the last sighting of Janet Downing. What Belonny Michel actually saw, and why does it matter? You think this will be in the Rule 30? If you want to support, you can hit the super chat, or you can go to Venmo at Can We Keep It Real. Also, Cash App at Can We Keep It Real, or you can give some memberships. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can support that way as well. But we working every day. We ain't taking no days off. We're gonna try not to take no days off. It's tough coming up with content. It's tough. The content's there, but it's tough to research the information, have it correctly to be able to deliver it to you, and hold down a job. That's tough. And everything else that goes with it. But Eddie's worth it, so we're gonna do our best, right? But we know on July 23rd, sometime around 6:15 to 6:20, a neighbor named, I'm gonna say Michael Belonny, right, is outside his house on Boston Street in Somerville. His brother and the family are visiting. They're getting ready to leave. So it's just a normal summer, hot ass, sticky night, throughout Boston. Because what Belonny sees next probably becomes one of the final known sightings of Janet, at least alive. Right? We really don't know what went on in the house with Paul Jr. That's still a little suspect right now. But yeah, right now you have to look at, I would have to look at it if I was investigating all of them as suspects right now, Belonny, so he ends up telling the police, right, that Janet pulls up in front of her house, just trotting along, cigarette hanging out her mouth, you know. But then she backs the car into her driveway. She sits there, lets it idle for about 5 minutes, and then she pulls back onto the street. You know what I mean? Sits in the driveway, probably thinking about the bullshit that's going to go on when she gets in that house. Or maybe her mind already had some other shit that was going on in her mind. You know, considering everything that she told Regina on that particular day. Now, this is the first moment where Michael Belonny thinks, yo, that's some weird ass shit right there. Weird enough that he points it out to his brother. And I think that this right here is important, right? Because a witness spontaneously comments on something in real time, it kind of strengthens credibility. You know, it's showing that the behavior that Janet was doing was unusual enough to stand out to Michael. You know, so that's what's important. That's like, yo, that's weird. You know, that's something you don't see every day. That's something that, so it was important that it stood out enough for him to mention it. And then Janet finally parks in front of the house and gets out. Sometimes you gotta be careful messing with that DLC, man. It could be dangerous animals. Well, if you need me to help you out with anything, you need us to talk about anything, whatever you need. The cigarette that wasn't lit. Let's talk about that. So Janet finally parks the car in front of the house, right, and gets out. Is it Michael Belonny? Right? I think Michael, right? All right. Oh no, they always mess with Eddie up there, I mean, Eddie pokes right back though, putting in grievances and but that's why they mess with him, because they feel, oh, you want to mess with us, you want to file grievances against us, then we're gonna poke back, But right is right, the rules are the rules. Eddie has a point. So what Belani says is that she has a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, but it's not even lit. Right? She opens her trunk up, right? Her trunk's full of groceries, right? Groceries are mentioned a couple times during this trial, right? She carries 2 bags into the house. So the groceries, the cigarette, the trunk, but the way she was doing it, I guess, what sticks with this witness, right? And I guess he's watching it because something's off. You ever, your neighbor comes home and it's like, that's something they don't do all the time. Like, what the hell is going on? So the witness statement says on Monday, July 24th, 95, at 21:05, Trooper Conley and I occasion speak with Belonny Michel of 71 Boston Street, Somerville, Mass. Mr. Michel told us that on the night of July 23rd, his brother and family were visiting him at his residence. At about 6:15 to 6:20 p.m., his brother and family were getting ready to leave. Mr. Michel said that Janet Downing drove up in her car in front of her residence at 71 Boston Street. She stopped in front of her house. She then backed up the driveway, let the car idle. She opened the trunk, and Mr. Michel said the trunk was full of what appeared to be grocery bags. She carried two in the house. She came out the house. She stood in front of her car. Mr. Michel said she was acting unusual. She stood in front of the car, smoked a cigarette that was previously hanging from her mouth. Mr. Michel said that, it was just off. He said he just kept watching because something just felt not right.
In a world made of shadows, where the truth feels far away, you find yourself behind bars for a price you didn't pay. Fight your case with every breath you take, standing on your truth in the face of all this heartbreak. I didn't do this, you shout, but they turn their heads away, ignoring echoes of your innocence. You face another day. And what does the parole board say? Drowning in the protocol. You show no remorse. You're not fitting the role at all. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. It's a trapdoor either way. No escape from their design. Parole board wants confessions, not a hint of reason or a sign. Not seeking justice, but looking for neat boxes checked as they mold a simple story, leaving your truth wrecked. 20 years in, you still stand tall, saying I didn't do this. They don't celebrate your honesty. It's lost in all the myths. How you gonna take responsibility That's your only guidance. This ain't rehabilitation.
I got a pair of Sauconys. What's up, everybody? We back. I swear they're trying to break him into anger. They'll be everywhere. And I'm sure he's been used to this. I'm sure they've been dealing with this for a long time. But he will be home soon. Absolutely. This is riveting. Let's keep sharing Eddie's name through podcasts, Facebook groups, etc. Yes, absolutely. You know, I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about today. I'm looking over some things and I wasn't ready for a few things. And let me get this picture down. Is it back there? All right, give me a second, people. I got to go sign for something at the back door.
Shadows dance in the neon glow. Tales of fear on the evening show. They needed a monster.
My bad. I had to take that hoodie off. It was hot. It was hot. Yes, leave your DNA on that like button and subscribe. You can hit up the Venmo you want to support or, super chats, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. I need a head gasket. You believe that shit? A head gasket. Oh my God. I just need to buy a new car. That's all. I just need, buy a $3,000 car or some shit. But, yeah. I was wondering what I was going through like a gallon of oil of friggin' every week, it seemed. And now I know. But we ain't talking about my piece of junk car. We're talking about the last person to see Janet. And the last person to see Janet was like, yo, this chick is acting funky today. She is acting she's on her weird shit. And it must have stuck out to him because I'm sure he sees Janet come home every damn day. Right? Trunk full of groceries. She carries 2 bags in the house. They call it mundane behavior. The groceries, the cigarette. But sometimes I'll sit in my car, half hour, 40 minutes, just go through phone emails or whatever, do stuff for the podcast or study information or look up some information, But so he was watching because something must have felt off to him. The smoke. The smoke break that didn't make sense. Maybe that was off to him a little bit. So Janet comes back outside, right? After she's in the house, right? And this is the moment that this dude Belonny, right, describes as acting unusual. He says she stands in front of her car, right? She lights the cigarette. She smokes the entire thing right there. And he said she appeared upset. So now, after she talks to Gina Mahoney for 10 hours, telling her that she's petrified of friggin' Audie, she's acting unusually weird, according to this witness that sees her come home every day. Sees her come home every day, and he pointed this out to his brother. So something was off. What do you think, chat? You know, you see your neighbor come home every day, and and you're sitting there with your brother and sister in your driveway, and you see the way your neighbor's acting, and you just say to your brother or sister, like, they're acting weird as fuck. Like, that's some crazy shit that's going on. So it must have stood out, right? What do you think, chat? What do you think about this neighbor? And this is part of the whole timeline. This basically starts a timeline. So the last timeline Janet's seen alive is 6:15, 6:20. So this is where the timeline begins. Y'all with me today or no? So on July 23rd, sometimes around 6:15, 6:20, a neighbor named Belonny Michel, right, is outside his home on Boston Street. His brother and the family are visiting, getting ready to leave. It's a normal summer evening until it isn't. Because Belonny sees next becomes one of the final known sightings of Janet alive. He tells the cops that Janet pulls up in front of her house. Nothing strange about that, right? But then she backs into her driveway. She sits there for a little while. Car's idling. She pulls back out on the street again. Now this is the first moment where he's saying that this shit's weird, and then he talks about the cigarette that wasn't lit. She just got a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. And then after she unloaded the groceries that nobody really saw, but before that, she's standing in front of her car, she lights a cigarette and she smokes the entire thing, staring down Boston Street. She appearing upset. So this is really the emotional core of the statement, right? That he doesn't say that she was crying, she was yelling, she was frantic, just that you could tell that something was wrong. You could tell something was wrong with Janet. Whether it was a mood, a vibe, she was disturbed, her universe was upset, some shit was going on with Janet. So this is really the last time anybody sees Janet down and alive, which is 6:15, 6:20. The groceries get unloaded. So she finishes that cigarette, right? And now Belonny goes back inside his house, right? He don't see how the rest of the groceries got inside the house, whether anyone else came or went, anything after that. Rest in peace, Janet. Absolutely. Rest in peace, Janet. He don't see anything after that moment. But he tells the cops that he has nothing more to add. So this seems like a good, limited, credible statement. So this seems like, a good timeline that 6:15, 6:20 was the last time anybody has seen Janet Downing alive, and it's probably not, soon after this. It could have been, any time after this time. Paul assumes he's seen his mom alive at 8:30, so that could be another sighting, but I'm not sure she was. I mean, no way Paul could have went in that house and seen it the way it was, and not see anything. So, but there's definitely suspicious to people in that family. That's for sure. So the neighbors saying his description is unusual behavior, upset demeanor, and that would suggest that Janet was definitely dealing with something before going in that house. She was probably didn't want to go in that house. She was probably fighting with, and no one knows who's in the house actually. We don't know if there's a significant other. Nobody knows who's in the house. But Janet, it's obvious she don't want to go back in that house. Whatever happened, if something happened with one of the kids, if something happened with, if Erin was hiding again or her boyfriend was hiding or who knows, anything could have happened. Rest in peace, Janet. Poor woman went through way, way too much with her abusive ex, Creeper, and kids. Exactly. I know exactly what's going on with my neighbors. We all watch out for one another. Oh no, and everyone, there's no secret that, her ex husband was was a violent scumbag. You know what I mean? We heard how he beat a kid with a chain, a 15-year-old with a chain at the park, where the kid's father had to come home and had to come over Paul Sr.'s house and kick the shit out of him. Now, the grocery bags, I think, become relevant because I didn't even realize this until I'm reading on, but the grocery bags, right? They were in the trunk. Only two were carried into the house. Only two grocery bags were carried in the house, right? The rest were unaccounted for. Nobody saw who brought them into the house. I was wondering if Big Ed, did the grocery bags ever get into the house? Or on G, or if Trisha knows that, maybe they could answer it later. Clip this. But this could create a gap in the timeline, right? And open questions about who else may have been present. Who was in the house? Who was in the house? Who was in there? Was it Marty? Who was in it? Was her brother? Wasn't her brother's recently, home from somewhere? Where was Janet's brothers at? I mean, nothing in these statements, though. I'll tell you what, nothing. I'll say it again. Matter of fact, I'll even put it in the chat because I want to make sure everybody hears it. Nothing here shows any sign of Eddie at the scene. You know, nothing shows any sign of Eddie. Nothing suggests that Janet was afraid of Eddie, and nothing indicates that she was rushing home to confront Eddie. Oh, yeah, we have cameras now, too. Yeah, you have to have them now. And the crazy thing is, you know what cameras do? Cameras protect you from the people that we know. You know, they don't really protect you from strangers because strangers are still going to do things, and you could still spot a stranger doing some shit on a camera. And guess what? It ain't going to matter because unless that person's, noticed, unless someone knows who that person is, it don't matter. So, I put my cameras up to protect us from people we know, you know? The thing with cameras, though, what I noticed, most people never even watch their hard drive, like, unless something happens, So, unless, like, you hear something outside and you're like, hey, check the rear camera last night, or, if something's going on in your yard, like, we usually keep, you know, a live feed, on our driveway, or we'll split it up with our driveway, our front door, our pool, by our front garage. But nothing in these statements, right, place Eddie at the scene. Nothing suggests that Janet was afraid, and nothing indicated that she was rushing home to confront Eddie. I mean, this is the witness's strongest point when a neighbor who sees you on a regular basis says you were acting unusual. I think that says something. I know when my neighbors are acting up, like you notice that shit because they acting the hell up. My neighbors be having tractor wars and shit. Like, my goodness, cops be called. So you notice that shit. You're like, ah, shit. Hun, the neighbors are at it again. And it's like, oh boy, you know? So you know when your neighbors are doing some chaotic shit. So what's left, right? What are we left with? A woman comes home in her driveway, out her driveway, like she's debating something, unloads only part of her groceries. Who knows about the rest of her groceries? I don't know if they were unloaded. Maybe after Ed talks to the DLC, he can come back and let us know. Um, but only part of the groceries were unloaded, and then she stands outside the front of her car, like the world is sitting on her friggin' chest, smoking an entire cigarette. He made it sound like it was just one drag, like whoop, So whatever was happening inside Janet Downing's mind that evening, it started way before she ever walked through that door. And who was in the house at that moment? 10 hours she's telling Gina, you know what I mean, that I don't trust this friggin' Adi, man. Why is he in my house? He be returning books, doing all kind of shady shit. Was stash finally found? And the neighbor, just by paying attention, he might have captured the last calm Janet's last calm before the storm of Janet's life. Because whoever did that to Janet, that shit went room to room. They was in a full beef. Janet was fighting for her life. Whose DNA is under them fingernails? Why don't you want to test them? Whose DNA is under them fingernails? And that's why I believe that they know or they thought about it, all the Downings, Paul, Ryan, Erin, Paul Sr., they all thought about this or said it, or they know it to be true that maybe Eddie didn't kill my mother. Maybe Eddie didn't kill Janet. Wasn't it said Carol's fighting with Audie and yells in the projects that you killed my sister? Don't you got a cat named Domino? Damn. But what really happened? Whose DNA is under them fingernails? We know whose DNA is not under them fingernails. And I think y'all are really scared that if Eddie does get a fair trial, Eddie walks. He only got convicted based on fear. Everybody was scared to friggin' death, and plus, he didn't have no expert witnesses. But now we got science on Eddie O'Brien's side. And anyone that says that he's guilty, if they don't look at the evidence, then they're just being biased. Whose DNA is under them fingernails? How is that even not registering with anybody? Oh, there's someone else's DNA under the nails? It's all right. I'm sure Eddie did it anyway. How about in what? 7 minutes of time? What is he, Zorro? He's going to slash and dice this lady, like all kind of stuff, take the bra off, do some strategic shit to the bra, fold it back up, put it on her chest, like do all this shit. Oh, and don't forget, let me run in the bathroom. Let me wash up. Let me put my clothes back on. You know what I mean? Or whatever you're saying. Let me put my white shoes back on, my white friggin' above the rim shirt back on. Oh, and I don't even have trace blood. That was that thick, nasty blood. You are not doing that without getting, that invisible shit on you. The invisible blood. It's not happening. And there's so many ignorant people in the world that are so stupid. I said stupid because they can't see the evidence for what it is. When someone says there was a struggle going from one side of the house to the other, down the damn stairs, blood painted on the walls, a bloodbath, they know, so they don't want anyone to find out. Exactly. That's why I said that I guarantee there's some time that they said, oh, maybe Eddie didn't do this, whether one of them, two of them, or sat back and said, damn, that's screwed up, man. I know I did this, but man, that poor kid sitting in the joint all these years, man, that was my boy. He don't deserve that, but he wasn't your friend. I mean, you guys let this kid go down for that. That's the crazy part. For 30 years. Imagine that, letting someone go down for 30, excuse me, Oh my God. It's just incredible. Eddie didn't have a motive for 3 weeks after they arrested him. They had to come up with a motive, figure a motive. But the ex husband did, the brother in law did. I could even say the sons had a motive. Somebody in that family, somebody was in that house. What did Paul say? I know what they did. They were hiding. You know, it's in one of those. I know what they did. They were hiding. I mean, so the neighbor describes, a bunch of unusual behaviors. Maybe Adi Ortiz was covering for them, but Adi Ortiz just can't keep his mouth closed and opened his mouth one too many times until they had to tell Adi Ortiz, keep our name out of your mouth. Why do you think Adi Ortiz wouldn't take $2,000 from JFK? All of a sudden, he don't want $2,000. You already talked for free. You're over here yapping and capping in the on chat. Yeah, they're covering for themselves. Absolutely. They all cover each other. But it's just a shame because one night they're going to get haunted, man. The devil is going to come and yoke them up and they're going to be haunted. And Riley, too, he's going to have to dance with the devil. They're all covering for each other. Right? They all covering for each other. I mean, when some of that's why they don't want to talk, because they don't want this shit, right? They don't want their timelines to start overlapping each other. That's crazy with Eddie being a ninja and scaling the fence. And that guy even said, like, no, it wasn't Eddie. And plus, Eddie couldn't have been there. But here is something that is crazy that there was a witness that said he heard two people arguing, saying, what are you still doing here? And some people are saying that was Paul and Adi Ortiz. Adi Ortiz comes to take care of shit. And Paul's like, yo, what are you still doing here, man? You're not supposed to be here. Allegedly. But when these timelines start overlapping each other, that's why they don't want to talk. But silence really starts looking a little, strategy. Yep, he said, my mother, oh my God, my mother. But the Downings rolling this, they just appear emotionally invested, right? Protective, very protective. But certain statements and omissions that they have made just raises questions about what they knew and when. Adi Ortiz, right? His inconsistencies, right? His arrival time, none of it adds up. His dispatcher call, no proof of that even happening. His behavior all these years, his emotional behavior, just crazy. I mean, already casting doubt, right? But his versions align too perfectly with the Downings. Now that is worth some scrutiny, right? His shit is just too perfect with theirs, and everybody else is in a clique, and everybody else is teaming up. It just sounds no. I mean, when two people involved in crimes like this, when their stories are echoing each other's story points, that's something that investigators key right onto. That's where they start to look for motive. But I don't understand these cops, man. What do you call them? The Keystone cops. Like, come on. This is where a good investigator will look for, see if anybody's afraid right now, any loyalty going on. You know, who's going to hang out under self preservation? I mean, you're not accusing, we're just exposing patterns. I mean, why do these stories all sound rehearsed when you hear, each side? And that's why they want to stay quiet now. That's why they want to stay quiet now. But now I think they really start to know because they've been hearing, through the JFK show since October, all this shit coming down about Eddie. Then you got the kittens, and where's the fucking dog, Adi? You know what I mean? Shout out to Kevy Kev, and everything, that they ended up exposing, you know, Jay Brill, shout out to Brill, Mama O'Brien, gave Jay Brill a lot of credit for, Adi, for Adi getting exposed. Yep, the sunsetter was his mother before they even got near the house is extremely odd. How did he know it wasn't the neighbor? And plus, not only that, them were all like, if you see how the houses were, it looks like there was a lot of duplexes, there was a lot of multi families, and they're just coming down the block. So they don't know what house it's at. It could have been anybody's house. It could be anybody's house. I mean, when you look at the Downing family and Adi Ortiz, right? I think it feels less like coincidence and more like a strategy, allegedly, right? I mean, the family that sinks together, this family that plans together, right? I mean, just call a spade a spade. Hey, shout out from at Shannon loves Connecticut. Free Eddie, appreciate you being here. Thank you, welcome. Hit the sub button. Like the stream. Come back. We talk Free Eddie every day because it's very, very important. But the Downings right now, respectfully, they line up just way too clean. You know, like their stories have been rehearsed over and over all these years. You know, everybody got the same timestamp, the same beat, you know, the same memory. Big shout out to Ash Shannon Loves Connecticut. Says she got some friends in the chat. What's up with that, chat? Oh, let me put this on the stage. I'm sorry. We usually got this on the stage by now. But yeah, if you free Eddie, you welcome. You know, we have a nice friendly chat here. You know, but everybody got the same story, right? Everyone got the same timestamp. You know, like watching a group project where everyone copies the same, you know, the same homework, and we all turn it in together, and nobody changes, you know, the title, or we don't change the font. You know, give me a minute. I'll be right back. Then we're going to talk about the dispatcher dilemma with fake ass Adi Ortiz.
In a world made of shadows, where the truth feels far away, you find yourself behind bars for a price you didn't pay. Your case with every breath you take, standing on your truth in the face of all this heartbreak. I didn't do this, you shout, but they turn their heads away, ignoring echoes of your innocence. You face another day. And what does the parole board say? Drowning in the protocol. You show no remorse. You're not fitting the role at all. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. It's a trapdoor either way. No escape from their design. Parole board wants confessions, not a hint of reason or a sign. Not seeking justice, but looking for neat boxes checked as they mold a simple story, leaving your truth wrecked. 20 years in, you still stand tall saying I didn't do this. They don't celebrate your honesty. It's lost in all the myths. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. your only guidance. Where the whispers play, the door of the frame holds the secrets of the day. Locked on to Eddie, they whispered his name. Caught in a tempest, a life gone insane. Down in the dark, where the sailor path runs, a set of keys hit the dirt under disappearing suns. A house key, a car key, lost in the rush. But the stage swept it up like a hand in the crush. Eddie's freedom cry, can you hear it loud? Breaking through the darkness, piercing the shroud. 30 years in chains, but the truth won't die. Unseal the past, let Eddie rise high. Unseal the notes, expose all the blocks. Rayleigh trapped Eddie in a manufactured box. 30 years of hidden facts buried in the track. It is time to give Eddie O'Brien his freedom back. Unseal the box, break down the lock. Let the
Alright, let's
truth
go.
ring louder than the courthouse clock. 3 decades of silence, a cold prison shell. Refuse to lie, they cast a wicked spell. No remorse in their eyes, they judge from the booth. But Eddie stands tall, anchored in truth. Summer is opening, the science is real. The manufactured box begins to peel. Voices collide as hope takes its stand. With every heartbeat echoes a drowning band. Eddie's freedom cry, can you hear it loud? Breaking through the darkness, piercing the shroud. 30 years in chains, but the truth won't die. Unseal the past, let Eddie rise The drums roll thunder through the halls of despair. With strings and brass, they unite in the air. A symphony of chaos reflects in the night. The fight for Eddie grows bigger, takes flight. Beneath boundless skies, the walls start to shake. Each note of resistance, a wave in the wake. A revolution of honesty will cut through the lies. As the world turns its gaze, a new dawn will rise. So gather the voices who waited too long for Eddie O'Brien. We'll sing out strong. His freedom's a fire, lighting up the gloom. As the massive, triumphant chord brings truth to the room.
Some of these songs just be hitting, you know. I know y'all be up on the tables, be dancing and shit. You know what I mean? Get up on them tables and dance. You know what I'm saying? Dance. But yeah, we back. We back. You know, talking, you know, about the last person to see Janet. You know, the cover up, you know, Downings and the Ortizes, you know. They definitely know something. But when you look at Downing, when you look at the Ortizes, it just feels like it's just, come on now. You know what they say, the family that sinks together lies together and sinks together. But Adi Ortiz, right? This guy was supposed to be the calm in the chaos, right? Somehow becomes the chaos himself. I mean, there's so many episodes over there that JFK and them guys had where Adi is just over there lying. Where's the friggin' dog, Adi? The kittens, the cat litter box. So much shit that I had the hospital on memory. Like, yeah, before the body even got to the hospital, he was saying that she was gone. This guy's timeline bends like a bad alibi. Am I right or am I right? He calls dispatch, right? Showing up early, acting emotional, but every move he makes fits the Downing's version of reality. You notice that? Every move that this guy makes ends up fitting right in with something to do with the Downing version. That's not a coincidence. That's some choreographed shit with a badge. I mean, and here's a thing about cover ups, too, I think, anyway. Cover ups, they don't always come with lies. I mean, sometimes they come with silence, and like they have a lot to lose. And sometimes, the kind of silence that says if I don't say it, they can't prove it. And the Downings stay quiet on the inconsistencies. Ortiz is going to stay loyal to the narrative, right? Excuse me. And together, they end up building a wall of, I don't know, I don't recall, tall enough to block the friggin' truth. Oh, he was there way early. He was there because he was there taking care of the situation. He was in the house. How early was he in the house? What time was he in the house? Come on now, let's keep it real. I don't even did the blood in the house ever match Eddie? Did the blood inside the Downing home? It matched Janet. It matched an identified third party, the DNA jury. The DNA, the jury just never heard about it. You know, the prosecution used the idea of Eddie's blood, not the science. But another thing, the only blood ever connected to Eddie was on Eddie. And didn't the investigator go back, put He put the vials of Eddie's blood in his top pocket, not an evidence bag. And why did he go back to the crime scene with the blood? Exactly. I think the only blood that was ever connected to Eddie was on Eddie. And that was even microscopic. It wasn't consistent with stabbing someone 98 times. It wasn't found on his clothes, on his shoes, or anything. And it never made any sense. So if Eddie had done what they accused him of, right, he would have been soaked in blood. He would have had head to toe, and that isn't your normal, like you got a bloody nose. That's that thick blood mixed with all types of stuff. The state used blood in the house as a psychological trick. They never said we found Eddie's blood inside the crime scene. They said shit like blood consistent with Eddie could not be excluded. They said, it's all in the wordplay, contributor. They say stuff like that. See, that's where, the regular juror gets all screwed up. One of them law tubers said it. He said the average juror barely has a high school diploma, and they're expected to understand all of this technical shit, all the wordplay that they use. Because when they're saying, "Oh, blood consistent with Eddie," you're like, "Oh, really? Could not be excluded." Oh, okay. They're excluded. Excluded. What does that mean? You know, that word salad screws up a lot of the jurors. If they had real Eddie blood inside that house, if Eddie really cut his hand inside that house, there would have been blood everywhere. Nah, it's all good. I'm not going on you. I'm just, while we're talking about blood, right? We might as well, but because we're just having conversations. If they had Eddie's blood inside that house, I think they would have screamed it from the rooftops. And if Eddie cut his hand in that house, it would have been everywhere. The only blood that didn't belong there, though, was the third party DNA. Back in the mid 90s, no one was questioning the integrity of the police. It was if they were arrested, they must have done it mindset, like the police could never get it wrong. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we have more prisons. We have more people in prison than we have in college universities across country. More inmates than I think every country in the world combined. That's crazy. And it's not only Eddie. We talked about it yesterday. All the other guys that been exonerated over the years, and you can't even get a shot at parole because then you got to admit that you did something wrong, and it screws up your friggin' appeal. Yep, we need them all. They all should give up a DNA sample. Every one of them. Whose DNA is under them fingernails? That's the magic question right there. When people say Eddie's guilty, say, well, was Eddie's DNA under her fingernails? Like, I just can't fathom when people say Eddie's guilty, and I try to say why. And they don't really have anything really as a comeback except, well, a jury convicted him. Yeah, technically, you're right, but like, I can't go on that, man. I really believe that that's flawed. The jury's a flawed system. I don't know what's better, but the jury is a flawed system. Just like eyewitness identification is the worst identification in court. There's nothing worse than an eyewitness identification. The only blood that didn't belong was third party DNA. And I think that should blow this whole thing open. If the Rule 30 makes it this far to the DNA, and I'm hoping it don't, I'm hoping right away, first issue, the Rule 30 flips, done, bang. But if the Rule 30 does make it this far, this is the pot that could start blowing everything open. Yes. No, yeah, Juror 6, exactly. Inside the house, in the blood, was DNA that matched not Eddie, not Janet. It didn't match anybody tested. An unknown person's blood was in the murder scene. A literal unknown person's blood was in the murder scene. But the jury never heard it. That's not a mistake. That's a cover up. Shouldn't the jury at least be able to hear things, even though, just like the opening statement is not evidence? But you could get that hearsay in, but you can't get Gina's hearsay in, but you can get the kid's hearsay in. What did Eddie tell you? That's okay, but what did Janet tell you is not. Because trust me, if Eddie's blood was in that house, I guarantee the state would have used it as the centerpiece of their case. Why? No. Instead, what did they use? They used fear, right? They used politics. They used public pressure. Appreciate you, They used public pressure, a rushed investigation, a narrative that needed a villain. They didn't want evidence. Yes, they tried to sensationalize it because the science didn't support their story. So when people ask, why was Eddie's blood in the house? The real answer is it wasn't. That house was sloppy police work, political bullshit, pressure, DNA from somebody the Commonwealth never wanted you to know even existed. I mean, think about it. If Eddie O'Brien did that to Janet 98 times in a confined hallway in a small area, just the artery spray hitting the walls, the floors, the clothing, the objects, he would have been drenched. If you look at the autopsy report and you see where the slices were, I hate to say it, but blood was just spraying out. like psh, like spraying out. And because Janet is struggling, running from one side of the house to another, adrenaline pumping, body moving, blood's pumping, heart's pumping. So as that heart's pumping, and this poor lady is getting sliced and diced, and I really say that respectfully, but I just want you to realize how bad it is, how horrible it was. As she's being dragged down them stairs, you know what I mean? Being whacked from wall to wall. Blood is just spraying all over the place. But Eddie would have been drenched. And people hate to hear that part. But the dude would have been drenched. And I really believe that Janet knows Eddie didn't do this, man. And Janet will rest in peace, I think, when Eddie gets out, man. And I believe Janet is up there, pulling for Eddie. But let me tell you, Eddie didn't even have a microscopic dot the size of a fruit fly's eyelash on him. You know how small that is? You know how small a fruit fly is? Well, think of his eyelash. He didn't even have a drop that much on him. I'm talking head to toe. He would have been horror movie. Carrie. You seen the movie Carrie? When they dumped the bucket on her head, drenched her. I'm talking like, like head to toe, soaked through your socks, drenched. She fought for her life, absolutely. Why Eddie would have been covered in blood and wasn't. And then he walks into the convenience store like it's nothing. Like, hey, what's up? Even though he did see Janet, but if he would have just did that, 98 wounds, it's not a clean crime. Yeah, right. I think we all watched Carrie, when we were young and they dropped the bucket on her head. But that's basically what the person looked like. This wasn't a single strike, this wasn't something that happened fast. It took some time. And there was plenty of time because remember, the last person to see Janet was 6:20, was the neighbor who we did we had his testimony earlier. Every expert will tell you that blood sprays, shit, blood pools, it transfers. You watch Dexter. They would have gotten blood DNA from his eyeballs. Absolutely everywhere. Yes, and how do you hide that? How do you get it out of your eyes? That's the one place like it's gonna be there. Yep. So somebody was definitely covered, man. Somebody had pools. They had transfer on them. I mean, it sticks to the attacker. It just, that kind of stuff you read in medical books. Not that I know personally. But that shit sticks to the person. It's like gel. You know what I mean? It gets under the fingernails. Like you gotta rip your freaking fingernails off. I got a couple good friends that are cops. I mean, there's cops that are good. There's cops that are bad. Not all cops are bad, but sometimes the good ones, they got no choice but to fall in line, because if they don't fall in line, they'll be looked at as a snitch or as an outsider. There was a situation where a state trooper was drunk driving. Oh hell yeah! a state trooper was drunk driving and he got pulled over. And so the younger cop is the one that pulled him over, and this guy was like a high-ranking statey. A couple other cops came. They had a conversation, and the statey that's drunk is screaming at the young cop, and somebody that we know that's on the state police, and he said, what do you do in that situation if you're, like a 5-year cop? The guy's drunk driving, but guess what? Like, if you say anything, all your other cop friends are gonna look at you like you're a rat, and they're not gonna have your back, and they're gonna look at you differently. He said, so what do you do? He says, so you end up just going along with it, and that's how the good ones end up getting jammed up. Give me a minute, y'all. We'll be back.
All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
Truth's gonna bend. Heffernan standing tall, trying to defend. Said it looked bad on paper, but it's all deeper. Politics lurking, call it a grim reaper. Eddie was just a kid, caught in the fray, but the power players had a game to play. From day one, they wanted him to fall. A kid in the spotlight, crushed by it all. Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Dr. Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right, a face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. Eddie's fate sealed with a stroke of a pen. My ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic cause he stood his ground, but the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down, they wanted him lost. With the stakes so high, he paid the cost. Heffernan's truth reigned clear in the dark. Tried to bring light, but it missed the mark. Eddie, a kid caught in a game, lost in the shuffle, society's shame. So here's a lesson carved deep as stone: justice shouldn't wear a political tone. Heffernan stood firm, knew it wasn't just in a world focused on power. Who can you trust? Heffernan knew the truth. No, it told. Happening knew the truth, and it cuts like a knife in the courtroom of power. What's the cost of a life?
There I am. My bad, my bad, my bad. Yep, we back. What's going on, everybody? I'm sorry about that. I was just talking about how Paul ran into the ocean, and the ocean's like a damn big bottle of bleach, but you would think that the way Paul was behaving, that should have got the investigators' attention, at least, to say the least. Did you take care of the DOC? You tell them, leave my freaking kid alone. I'm sick of you people messing with my kid. Any other case, probably Paul's behavior would have triggered, like, I don't know, something. Let me get your clothes, kid. Let me swab you with DNA. Fucking, how about a friggin' psychological exam, you friggin' nutcase? Yeah, we talked about, the blood Eddie had on him. We talked about Paul running into the friggin' ocean, with his clothes. The real question isn't did he do it? It's why did he do it? And why the friggin' state pretend it didn't even matter? No, we're still here, Ed. Can you hear us? Can Ed hear us? Can you hear us, Ed? He's trying to call me. Let me get this. Hang on, guys. Hold on one second. Ed.
Shadows dance in the neon glow. Tales of fear on the evening show. They needed a monster for the 5 o'clock news. A 15-year-old boy.
All right, he's coming back on, people. He's coming back on. Welcome to the chat, Big Ed. So, why don't you guys see if good news? I hope. So, he was trying to communicate. He said he couldn't really hear anything, but yeah, he should be good. He's coming back to the chat now. I think they get excited to talk to people, and it's great because how long have they've gone by themselves, having so many days by themselves, and now they have people that are with them, people that are willing to talk to them about their son Eddie, man. And for so long, they've been wanting to talk to somebody about their son Eddie. It's a sad freaking story, man. It really is, man. It's so sad. For many years, for many years, the O'Brien family stood by their son. And they even said that finally it was like recently somebody's, started talking to them about, oh my God, the podcast is, I seen your son, and they can actually keep their head high now. They can walk around with their head raised. Now they got people that actually believe in their son. I don't know. I remember my mom used to have some beefs with the warden. You know what I mean? Like she used to have some, like the warden used to tell me like, "Yo, your mother is a handful, bro." You know what I mean? He'll come down when I was in. It's kind of like DDU unit, but it was SEG. They used to say, "Yo, your mother was here." I used to, oh boy. When they told me my mother was at the prison, like you knew when she had to leave, when she left the house to go to the prison to make a point. The warden used to tell me his name was Hildeman, right? Mean bastard. He used to be like, your mom was here, man. Your mother's a freaking handful. No, but you're still not getting out of lockup. I was like, damn, you know, But the O'Briens stood alone for a long time, man. I mean, 30 years basically. I mean, they had family, I mean, they kept that, like you heard Trish saying that, they had to walk around sometimes with their head down, keep it, but they carried their pain in private. They stood by their son, right? When the entire state tried to bury him alive, they were trying to push a death penalty. So imagine that. Like Eddie could have been facing the death penalty. That's crazy. They didn't lash out. They didn't go, clap back at the lies, the headlines. They just tried to roll with the punches. They stood quiet. When you know your child's innocent, you just need the faith, right? I mean, I'll tell you what, they're not standing alone anymore. Got to be a little more like a gentleman. Yeah, to a point. To a point. Sometimes being a gentleman don't get it done though. You really got to go in there and like just put your foot down, and let them know like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Not all the time, not too much squeaky, but don't take my advice, you know. I mean, but I'm glad people are waking up now. They're starting to read the actual documents. Thank God they're starting to read Margot's book. See the inconsistencies. So realize that this investigation was a political rush job. And now the O'Briens, now they have something that they never had before. They have a big movement. They got people that believe in Eddie, not because we feel bad, right? Not because we need a cause or we need something to do. Trust me, I could be sleeping right now, which I'll be doing very, very soon. Um, but because the evidence, the real evidence points to one thing: Eddie's innocence. Eddie never should have been in that situation. You know, not because the evidence, points to one thing. Eddie never should have been in that courtroom. He should have been downstairs. He never should have been upstairs, as they say. But the O'Brien family never broke, and now they can be heard. They didn't fold, they didn't switch up. You know what I mean? They didn't rewrite their story. They ain't chasing attention. Now they know the truth is coming out, right? The truth is catching up. The truth is passing the lie. Shit. People are coming forward and speaking out. Free Eddie, right? Say it. Free Eddie. They're saying, hold up, this case doesn't add up. The O'Briens, after 30 years, are carrying that weight alone. Now, we're going to help y'all. We're going to stand besides them and not against them. Yeah. But I appreciate everybody, man. That's about it from me. We're back at work, a couple hours. Appreciate everybody. That would be great. A YouTube panel fundraiser, absolutely. But for years, the O'Brien stood by their son's silence, and now the silence is actually breaking. So, Eddie doesn't just have family behind him anymore. He has a community and family behind him. And once the people stop paying attention, the system, you can't hide forever. But, oh, uh, hang on. Oh, and check this out. I got some Mago's new chapters, right? I just got this information, right? It looks like Mago's new chapters, right, are coming out July 28th. And there's going to be a book signing in Somerville. They're looking for a date of August 1st. And they're working on a haul. There's going to be raffles, books, merch. There's going to be a lot going on. So, everybody look forward to that. So, yeah, it looks like let's go, man. Mago's new chapters are coming out July 28th. The books are all going to be done. There's going to be a book signing in Somerville, Mass. So they're working on getting everything situated right now. So, get ready for that. Oh, who is excited about that? I can't wait to read them 10 chapters. Yo, this is going to be exciting. And there has to be a final book as well. We have to go like another 5 chapters. You know what I mean? Maybe a second book, the aftermath. Politics and Murder, the aftermath. You know what I mean? When Eddie comes home, because the book's already written now. So, hey, shout out to Ed. Tell him we look forward to Mago's book. But from what I understand, July 28th. So, a book signing in Somerville. So everybody get ready for that. Shout out to Ed. He's on the phone with Big Ed. You know, tell them what's up to everybody. You know, yeah, by August 1st, that could work. Absolutely. Gonna have to be there, right? Do a live right there, live from is that a personal invite from Ed? Live from Somerville, absolutely. Is that a personal request? Absolutely, excellent. All right, people, man, I gotta get some rest, you know. Gotta get to work. Got a head gasket to fix soon in my damn piece of junk, but I'll talk to you all soon. I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah. In a world of black and white, we lost the shade. Judgments made with no thought, no faith in what could be said. Every expert that came said the same refrain. Eddie wasn't violent, he was fighting through the pain. Nah, the danger to the world, just a kid with a dream. They taught the wounds and scars like it's part of the theme, but they missed the truth behind the boy standing tall, caught in a system that refused to hear his call. Every single expert, they knew the facts. Non-violent heart, it's not an act. He was meant for healing, not this dark fate, but the court turned blind and sealed up the gate. Oh, oh, and sealed up the gate. With every test and interview, they painted his soul, but that didn't matter. They had lost control. They looked at a number, not the man within, ignoring all the voices that should have helped him win. The purpose of the hearing was to guide him through, yet they tossed the science like they never knew. Too dangerous, too damaged, oh, that's not who he was. Just a child in a system without a pause. Every single expert, they knew the facts. Non-violent heart, it's not an act. He was meant for healing, not this dark fate, but the court turned blind and sealed up the gate. Oh, they focused on the wounds as if pain could define the essence of a kid who's meant to shine. A constitutional failure right before our eyes, lost in the shuffle where justice dies. America, can you see? Can up the gate. Eddie's story is a lesson, not just for today. A reminder to listen, to show a better way. When the voices of the many are ignored with disdain, we've lost the battle and it's all in vain. Let the echoes of the experts ring loud and clear. For every Eddie standing there, we cannot disappear.
It's
are ignored with disdain. We've lost the battle and it's all in vain. Let the echoes of the experts ring loud and clear. For every Eddie standing there, we cannot disappear. Innocence shattered in a world so torn. They said it was fear, reopening the doors, filled with whispers behind closed floors. A white boy convicted made it look fair, but in the shadow of justice, the truth laid bare. Eddie was a name, but just a pawn in the game. Sacrificed and railroaded, nothing felt the same. Oh, just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows at play, innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. He folded like glass, the DA showboating, just trying to amass. The system wanted justice, but justice was blind, changing the laws, leaving truth far behind. Remove the judge who dared to be just. Eddie was demonized in the world's cruel thrust. Size mattered not when politics run deep. From day one he fought, but all they did was sweep. Oh, just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows at play, innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. And those inside knew the story was wrong. We could have done better, sang the old wrong song. Experts pressure to twist the truth, arm in the court of despair. There was no charm, he never stood a chance. From the very start, a tragic confession, a broken heart. Watch Eddie's face when the world turned cold. An innocent spirit caught in a tale retold. The system failed him, that much is clear. A boy from Somerville, lost in his fear. Yet in the ashes, his story remains of the justice betrayed and the bitter pains. Through the lens of history, we sing his plight. Remember the boy who stood up if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure